1,708 meters and a height of 108 meters. The flow rate of the Zambezi below the falls is impressive, even though at the end of August, the rainy season has all but finished. However, this year the river was still very impressive. It should be. It is, after all, the fourth longest river in Africa and the largest to flow into the Indian Ocean. The Victoria Falls are considered the boundary between the upper and middle Zambezi. Below them, the river continues to flow due east for about 200 kilometers, cutting through perpendicular walls of massive basalt cliffs and valleys, some up to 250 meters high. Halfway after some spectacular rapids, high-siding and just plain lung-searing screaming and fun, it was lunchtime. And it was well-earned, as it so happens. Then it was on to rapid open season, and then Chimamba. Following that, there's Upper Moamba, lying in wait. This too is a tough proposition at any given time. But as they say in the classics, all good things must come to an end, and the stormy ride on one of the world's finest stretches of water also had to do that. The walk out to the top is another stretch for tired legs, but it was all worth it. At least for most people who kept their pants on.
Lost my pants, I lost my shorts. Had to climb into a boat without them.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Last year nobody went in. This year, the whole team of us spent the whole day in the river.
Beginning, not so great. The end, fantastic.
Enjoyable. Hectic, but enjoyable.
Looking forward to tomorrow, but, well, not really. Not after seeing the first section, but after today I feel a bit invincible.
And that's a good start. The 102-kilometer bike leg over an all-off-road course was preceded by a hearty breakfast, and a variety of surfaces, sand, jeep and dirt tracks was in store for the mountain bikers. This multi-sport event is in its second year and attracted locals and foreigners. Regular water and food points were to be set up on the route at 30, 60 and the 80k marks to ensure safe passage, and bike support was provided in case of mechanical failures or accident. John Lee took the early lead and looked like he meant business from the word go, followed closely by Ben Burr with Paul Collins just further back. However, keep in mind that they were going to run a standard marathon the very next day. Thus, you had to keep something in the tank and the legs for the morrow. The first 8 kilometers was very technical and tested the riders. John was away and leading by 4 minutes from Collins, with Burr another 60 seconds in arrears in third. Backmarker number 42, Theo de Bell, needed little reminding, but every time he looked down, he was indeed reminded just exactly how many Ks he had ahead of him the next day, on foot. The first woman on the bike, Sarah Brown, had a small lead.
Oh, it's fine. Can I get some water?
With Cheryl Winterton not too far behind, paced by her hubby Alan. Up front with less than 50 to go, Lee was still flying along, with Paul Collins firmly ensconced in second, while third and fourth was a cat-and-mouse game between Ray O'Brien and Neil Parsons, with Craig Foden in fifth a few minutes further down. Ben Burr, the fastest marathon runner in the field, was biding his time and saving his legs in sixth place, with Quinton Cantlay keeping him company. Cheryl Winterton now leading the women's race and having the odd eject, Annika Thompson had taken over the chasing duties in second. Back in third, Sarah Brown had to have some medical attention after meeting Mother Earth up close. But the show must go on, and in this sport, that adage is particularly true. For the backmarkers, it was a long, hot battle out there. And it certainly was a show by John Lee, who won handsomely in 5 hours and 18 minutes.
Yeah, it was a tough ride. It's a good ride. Excellent single track all through the Conservancy and National Park. Really good technical. 102 Ks of nice riding.
On the way to the finish line and past the sprawling lawns of the Victoria Falls Hotel overlooking the falls was a welcome sight for each one of the 67 riders who faced a tough challenge. Paul Collins' broad smile as he took second spoke of a good ride, but also of relief that the 102 Ks was done and dusted. Craig Foden made the most of a soft landing just after the finish line at the riverside. And there was relief for everyone who got to the line in one piece. Second woman, Annika Thompson, had picked up a flat and was falling further behind with every step. While up front, Cheryl Winterton stopped the clock at 7 hours and 35 minutes to win.
Technical, oh, it was hard in places, but the whole thing was amazing.
Sarah Brown eventually overtook Thompson to take second, almost 30 minutes behind, with the luckless Thompson just 11 seconds further back in third. But hers wasn't the only hard luck story of the day.
No saddle, last 16 Ks. 12 was standing up.
Louise Nielsen-Doran took fourth place, rather pleased with the outcome. She'd been riding for 9 hours and 21 minutes, a long day.
Yeah, tough race. Very, very tough.
Yeah.
It was good, but it got hot after we had a rest.
The Zambezi Man competition was 2/3 completed. Now for the marathon. Richard Shannon was last home just 11 hours after the start.
You are the last person for today, yeah?
That's right, I'm last today.
All in a day's fun, hey? Fine riding by the men's and women's pace setters, but in the back of their minds they all knew that they still had 42 kilometers to complete under own steam before the 2010 Zambezi Man was a triumphant success. The Isikolo project was a great focus during the week. A local school, Boabab Primary, needed to be rebuilt in the area.
The Isikolo School Build project is an initiative through Young Presidents Organisation and World Presidents Organisation, where they were looking at uplifting the lives of 1,000 children here in Victoria Falls. They were given 4 days in which to do the project. The goal was to do an extreme school makeover, which is what they have completed here at the school. The main was to set up the Isikolo block, which has now got ablutions for the girls and boys. It's got a library, which is both books and audio, and a teacher's common room, somewhere for them to sit. We also sorted out the preschool, where 2 changing rooms were redone, murals painted, and an additional area built for the 84 kids who were using it. We've also put in a roof, and that on top of a practice tennis court where the kids were sitting underneath a tree, and that's now become 2 classrooms. A sporting area with tennis courts and a basketball court have been done. The central block behind me was repainted, the floors were redone, chairs and desks were sorted.
Sport forms an integral part of children's development, and this too was a focus around a marathon weekend.
Sport is an important part of the Vic Falls life as well. It's not just about education, it's uplifting sport as well. So we've got the naming rights to the 5K fun run for the Vic Falls Marathon. So I'm sure we will get a lot of the children from the school coming through to run and compete and hopefully win a couple of the prizes.
Finally, race morning dawned with more than 650 runners hailing from 24 countries. The Econet Victoria Falls Marathon had certainly arrived in a big way. From Ethiopia to Japan, from the USA to SA, they were all there ready to stake a claim for one of the most exclusive medals you can earn. Fear, apprehension, exhilaration, and downright terror can all be experienced at the start of a race that covers 42 Ks, and these faces reflected all of those emotions. Whatever your fitness level or experience, a standard marathon is a long way to run. The brand new route was designed to highlight all the sights, sounds and vistas of this spectacular area, with the crossing of the bridge linking to Zambia a highlight. The great views of the falls, starting out along the Zambezi River and then onto the National Park, with a short loop into the high-density areas, a second tour, and then onto the finish line with great crowd support is just what any marathoner wants. The start close to the Kingdom Hotel was a rather casual affair, but the racing certainly would not be. The record time for the marathon route was set up in 2009 by Kefas Pasi Pamire with his 2-hour, 20-minute and 30-second clocking. But the front-runners started off at a faster pace than that, and from the get-go were determined to set a cracking pace. However, the marathoners had to be careful not to get suckered into running too fast too early on. This has a disastrous effect in the second half of a race this long. One of the men who did indeed do just that was number 134, Zimbabwean Michael Ngaseke, who was matching strides with half-marathon pace, a fatal mistake early on. The sun too ominously made its presence felt, but Ngaseke was determined to do all the early front running. Not a look left or right to take in the scenery. A marathoner's focus is purely on his own body, the opposition, and how far one still has to run. At At the Zambian turning point, the exuberant Angaseke was making the pace for his compatriot, the 29-year-old Sabanda and Kozi Yazi.